In 1789 to 1792, France was Europe's powerhouse, with a vast overseas empire, strong colonial economic relations, and the epicenter of Europe's entitlement movement. France was a monarchy in its purest form.
The debate was really limited because in the Reign of Terror, people understood that if you freely expressed your opinions and you didn't go along with the revolution, then it was fatal.
The revolution that had swept through France astounded other European counterparts and forever altered the direction of French politics and administration. Before the revolution, the French society of 27 million people was divided into 3 estates, similar to a hierarchy. The first estate was the clergy, 1%, who were involved in the church. The second was the nobility, 2%. These men held many leading positions in the government, military, and law courts. The third estate was the peasants, 97%, such as the skilled craftspeople, shopkeepers, and other wage earners without a title. Though French society was very organized and had an expanding economy, it began to struggle in 1789 when a bad harvest and a decrease in manufacturing occurred, leading to 1/3 of the population to become poor. In addition, the French monarchy was struggling financially, spending all of its money on wars, like helping America win its independence and many luxuries. They were also having external problems with Austria and the Kingdom of Prussia. A meeting led by King Louis XVI in 1788 was organized to secure emergency funds to help revive the government before the collapse. However, the First and Second Estate were against the Third Estate opinions, causing the Third Estate to be excluded from future meetings. This led to the Third Estate making its own oath with the goal of producing a French constitution. Over the next several years, numerous results by the Third Estate took place, slowly giving them more dominance. By 1793, the old government had been destroyed after the unfair trial and the assassination of King Louis XVI. The National Convention and the Committee of Public Safety replaced it. With this came the Reign of Terror in France. The Reign of Terror was a time lacking debate and diplomacy because the National Convention was a republic opposed by its own citizens. It had an unpredictable and selfish government and broke previously strong relationships with other nations. As the revolution was building in France, other monarchies such as Great Britain and Belgium considered intervening to come to the aid of their brethren, King Louis XVI. As things escalated, the leaders of these countries worried that the revolutionary spirit would spread to their monarchies.
The decision by the Republic to place Louis XVI on trial and then the execution of the former king on the 21st of January 1793 was a huge shock to Europe, but it was in the end the French Republic that declared war on Great Britain, on the Netherlands, and on Spain rather than the other way around. One of the worries that the Girondins had was that the king's execution would create a rift with the rest of Europe. And one of their plans was, or one of their arguments was, that keeping the king alive as a hostage might be beneficial in terms of relationships between the Republic and the rest of Europe. With his execution, of course, that was no longer a possibility. But in the end, the Republic's declaration of war put an end to possibilities of working out some kind of living with this regicide republic.
But external diplomatic problems in Europe were not the only things France had to worry about. During the Reign of Terror from September 5, 1793 to July 27, 1794, a new influential member of the National Convention by the name of Maximilien Robespierre was heavily involved in the Committee of Public Safety in the National Convention.
The ordinary people are going to be a kind of armed force that supports Robespierre and that supports the most radical revolutionary ideals. Revolutionary enthusiasm must be exalted by all means possible. So this is using citizens, paying citizens, arming citizens to police against anyone disagreeing with Robespierre and this small committee. So again, no real means for debate here.
While trying to stabilize the volatile French economy, Robespierre and the National Convention's policies began to create a dystopian society as people began to fear for their lives and well-being. Any debate or arguing of these ideas normally ends with a guillotine through the neck.
saying, we have to end this. It was not a matter of policy, it was a matter of self-protection, because they were afraid that as more and more people were guillotined, they were next. People settling scores, people killing sans-culottes going after those who had killed other sans-culottes. Historians say as many as 100,000 people were killed in the civil wars, both before and after the fall of Robespierre. So yeah, it was a really bloody time.
Even though Robespierre was known as the Incorruptible, the government didn't become concerned with the people of France, which led to internal problems. Small counter-revolutions occurred that attempted to overthrow the Republic. However, these turned out to be a complete fail. It only angered the National Convention even more, causing the government to take harsh measures against those suspected of being enemies of the revolution. Over the next year, 1793 to 1794, a massive wave of executions followed.
You could be hauled in. You would have the accusation read, you tried to defend yourself, and then the committee said there are two possible verdicts. One of them is that you're innocent, and the other is the death penalty. So that's really what the Reign of Terror meant.
Over 16,000 people were reportedly killed under the blade of the guillotine. The true number is estimated closer to be 30,000 people. Many famous newspaper writers such as Desmoulins-Camille started to speak out against Robespierre. Even Georges Dupont-Aignan, Robespierre's colleague and the leader of the Girondins, a group in the Committee of Public Safety involved in the government, disagreed with Robespierre's decisions. Perhaps the terror once served a useful purpose, but it should not hurt the innocent people. No one wants to see a person treated like a criminal just because he happened to not have enough revolutionary enthusiasm. In less than 2 weeks after the statement from Danton, he was killed by the guillotine, causing the Committee of Public Safety along with all the French to panic. As the Reign of Terror escalated, citizens, even government officials working with Robespierre debated his legitimacy and his goal of creating a utopian society.
Through the summer of '94, when many people became sickened at the number of executions, and that's when he began to slip from power. And it was as those executions went up, and up during the summer of 1794 that it happened quickly. When there was a way to knock him out of power, it happened very quickly. And people were successful at doing that in late July 1794.
The Festival of the Supreme Being celebrated in Paris on the 8th of June, 1794. And the Festival of the Supreme Being was intended to launch a new republican religion, which Robespierre believed was necessary to provide the revolution with a sense of morality. Many members of the revolutionary government did not support the creation of this new religion because some of them were violent de-Christianizers who believed that somehow this was a surrender of that kind of principle. A conspiracy emerged within the revolutionary government and within the National Convention, a conspiracy that united people of very different views, but who all feared that Robespierre was planning a new purge to eliminate them. And based on that common fear, they conspired to denounce Robespierre, to arrest him, to have him, he broke out of jail with help of his allies, but then was later rearrested and guillotined on the 10th of Thermidor, 1794.
Eventually, after the Festival of Supreme Beings on June 8, 1794, the Republic lost its popular support. In the end, the sans-culottes, lower-class workers who supported the revolution, didn't get better wages, losing their revolutionary spirit.
The United States had a mixed feeling about the entire French Revolution, but George Washington was very concerned about keeping the United States removed from engagement in European affairs.
It is clear that the events before and during the Reign of Terror were caused by a lack of debate and diplomacy. This time in history perfectly demonstrates how the breakdown of debate and diplomacy can cause destruction, violence, and terror throughout the world. Because thoughts and ideas cannot be properly portrayed from person to person, and people can't give their opinion on what they feel is incorrect, a total breakdown of social structure happens rather quickly. Diplomacy facilitates information communication and knowledge sharing between groups of people. With this in mind, our group finds it reasonably to say the Reign of Terror was a time lacking diplomacy because the National Convention became corrupt and unpredictable, breaking previously strong relationships with other nations and becoming hated by its people.